comes to modular construction, I really think this could be the solution to the affordability crisis. They can be built fast, they're super versatile, they can make them in different size shapes, and they've really grown in popularity. But just like any housing product, everything that has an upside, it has a downside too. And some of these downsides could be extremely costly to you. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the pitfalls when it comes to modular construction and how you can save yourself a lot of headache before you decide that you're going to buy a modular home. I know darn well if you're looking at this video, it's because you've been considering modular homes. And I know for a good portion of you, looking at modular homes, you think it's the most affordable housing option. And I'm going to explain something to you. A modular home is no different than a traditional built home. It just happens to have the label of a modular home. It's no different than calling a home a bungalow or Cape Cod style. The home itself is built in little tiny rooms, and those rooms are put together after it's left the factory. That doesn't necessarily mean that that home is going to be cheaper. I will tell you this though, the home that you do get with a modular home is much more energy efficient and it will be built faster. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be built in a way that makes it less expensive than a traditional built home. And you're probably wondering to yourself, like, why would you even choose a modular home then? Like, why wouldn't you just go ahead and build a traditional built home? Well, in a lot of cases, the modular homes can be built a lot faster than a traditional built home. You don't have the delays like you typically would with a traditional built home. You don't have the weather delays. You don't have crews that aren't showing up to put the houses together. It's all in one contained package. It's put together in several days instead of several months, and you get your house even faster. So that could save some money on the bottom line. But the biggest misconception about modular homes is that they're the most affordable type of home. And that's just not necessarily the case. Now, I know that if you've been looking online, you've probably seen a lot of homes online that say they're prefab modular. That doesn't mean necessarily that it's built to modular specifications, and it may not even meet your building codes in your specific area. Oh, and since we're on the conversation of cost, there's another thing that you need to be aware of. Even though, when you look at your modular homes, you're getting it built and you have a time frame for that to be built, that doesn't mean that the price that they give you at the beginning will necessarily be the price that happens at the end. And this is one of those things that happened during COVID, and it happened with traditional home builders as well. With the cost of building materials fluctuating in ups and downs all the time, the modular home builder may have to make some adjustments in the cost of some of the building materials. It's something that is unavoidable. A lot of these modular home companies don't have a warehouse of modular homes that they make. They're making them to your specific specifications, and those building materials can change costs as those building materials are brought in. The company that you go with will make this very clear to you. I'm just letting you know and being aware of that now. It doesn't mean that, if you contracted for $120,000 for a house, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be exactly what you pay at the end. And now here's another thing that's a misconception that people need to know about. When it comes to modular homes, yes, they do look like traditional built homes. And in many cases, you can find different ways to customize that specific modular home. But you may be limited because of the floor plans that they've already set up. Again, they do not have a warehouse of these modular homes sitting there. And you can go ahead and customize it in certain ways. That doesn't necessarily mean they can do everything you want them to do because of the fact they have limitations making it travel down the road. Secondly of all, will it actually fit the other modules that are already going to be put in place for your other parts of your plan? Now, your contractor will work with you and explain to you what you can and cannot customize in your specific modular home. Just know that if you're going to add anything extra, any extra modules, they're going to end up costing you more, of course. Oh, here's a huge misconception when it comes to building a modular home. A lot of people think they can be their own general contractor. If you do not have a general contractor's license, you're not going to be able to just decide to put it in a modular home or have one delivered to your location. You may be able to work very closely with a general contractor, but nobody's going to allow you to be the general contractor just because you decided to buy their modular home. It's not like a manufactured home, which is a completely different product. Now, the permitting process can get kind of sticky, and that's because of the fact that a lot of areas just do not understand the difference between a modular home and a manufactured home. I've explained it many times. Both of those products are built in a manufacturing plant. They are put together in a manufacturing plant, but the building code that those two products are built to are completely different. One is built to HUD standards, and that would be your manufactured home, home. Some people call them a trailer or mobile home, but modular homes, they're built in sections. They're built to building code. Some people call it international building code, or they're just built to the traditional building code in your specific area. Now, another thing that most people don't understand too is that modular home companies are no different than a lot of custom built home companies. You can have a modular home company and that's only in one specific area of, let's just say, the Northeast. And then you can have another modular home company in just Texas because they're only building to that specific code in that specific area. Then they hire people, contractors, general contractors, to put those homes together for them. You're going to be working with a company only in that state. So if you happen to find a modular home company that you love in the Northeast, that doesn't mean that they can deliver or bring those modules over to your location in North Carolina. It may not even meet the same building codes in that specific area. Now let's talk about the piece of land that you're deciding to put your home on. First of all, I need you to look up the restrictions in that area. Even if it's in a rural area, you may have an issue with being able to put a modular home on it. A lot of counties just do not understand that there is a difference between modular and manufactured, like I said before. Many times you're going to be able to take your plans for your modular home to planning and zoning to show them exactly how your home's going to be built and what specifications it's going to be built to, and they will approve it. But in some cases, they will not. And just also know there's always a specification on what kind of square footage you can have, so you want to be aware of that. Just because it's a modular home, that doesn't mean you can cut any corners on things like your soil compaction test. You're finding out what your utilities are. If you're going to be able to get a well out there, or you have to tie into the city water and sewer. All those things are going to be no different than any type of home that you build on a raw piece of land. When you are looking for land for a modular home, zoning is going to be very, very important. And when you're looking on the MLS or working with a real estate agent, they may not know the difference of the zoning for a modular home, because in a lot of MLSs, they'll say no manufactured modular homes, but that doesn't necessarily mean the type of modular home that you're going to have built, which looks just like a traditional built home and is built to better building standards. They may go ahead and allow you to build that house. Just make sure that the real estate agent you're working with understands what you're looking for in a piece of land and that you are using it for a modular home. When you get that piece of land and you've made an offer on it, your due diligence for this is, first of all, to make sure that it's going to be very accessible for the modular home company to come in and clear the area very easily, because they have to drive down the road to get those modular pieces in its location. You're still going to have to do a whole inspection of the piece of land to make sure it is suitable for a modular home. You're going to have to do a soil compaction test to see if it's suitable for a modular home. You're going to have a true survey done to that piece of land. You can ask the sellers to do that. If you're planning on buying a piece of land, you can ask them to do that. But sometimes they will and sometimes they won't. That's just a negotiation tool. And another thing you need to be aware of is to make sure to find out if it's in a flood zone or not. And I'm just telling you that because I live in the state of Louisiana, and we are in South Louisiana, and we flood like nobody's business. And it can get very expensive, and flood insurance isn't cheap. Not cheap at all. And that's another thing too. Look at the insurance in that specific area. Work closely with an insurance agent to find out if you're going to be able to get insurance for that modular home in that location. You work with somebody locally, they're going to be able to walk you through that whole entire process. These are just things you got to think about if you're planning on building a modular home. And a lot of times the modular home company that you're working with has a general contractor that you're going to be able to work closely with that can walk you through that entire process. Now, some modular home companies have their own pieces of land and lots that you can put modular homes on. Most of them will not. They're going to tell you to go ahead and find your own piece of land, and they'll let you know if it is going to be suitable for their product to be built there. You know how like when you're buying anything, you kind of get sucked up in all the upgrades you could possibly get. I want you to be really careful when you're looking at any modular home, and especially if you're trying to make it the most affordable option for yourself right now. When you start laying down like solid wood flooring, when you start putting in thick granite countertops and undermount sinks, all of those things add to the cost, of course. And the thing is, when it comes to the sales team there, that's their job to keep showing you all those extra, more expensive things. So you will make for a more expensive, more custom built home. The cool thing about modular homes is they do have more customizable options to add to the house itself. And you can get like in over your head. I know I have. But make sure that those are going to be things that will bring you a better return on investment. You know, anytime you upgrade your kitchen, that's going to be a good thing. But just think of it this way. In 10 years, are you going to like the kitchen that you are buying today? Like every millennial under the sun that's bought a house recently, they made their cabinets pure white. And now all the newer buyers that are coming in saying, I don't want hospital white. So just, you know, think about those kinds of things ahead of time. I just wanted to throw that in there because that happens. Another thing to think about whenever you're doing this and you're building your brand new modular house and you decide to add all these expensive upgrades to it, you might be outpricing yourself for the specific area that you're moving to. So I'll just give you an example. If you decided to do those solid wood, thick wood flooring throughout your entire house, and the rest of the neighborhood in your area that you're deciding to put the house has nothing but carpet and hasn't been updated, your appraisal might come in short, and then you're gonna have to come out of pocket for that amount of money. So just be very careful on the types of upgrades you decide to do and keep it in line with the neighborhood, because you can overdo it. Because if it doesn't appraise, that doesn't mean it goes on to the builder. If it doesn't appraise, it means that all that extra money comes out of your pocket. Yikes, yikes, fruit stripes.
Yikes, stripes, fruit stripe gum.
Fruit stripe gum and bubble gum.
Just like anything that's built in a factory, that doesn't mean that necessarily all factories are the same. Matter of fact, this company here in Austin, Texas, just got themselves hit with a $272,470 fine. Big time. They were doing all sorts of things. They had a lack of required fall protection. They were exposing workers to safety hazards, improper use of ladders, failure to maintain walking surfaces, improperly inspected fire extinguishers, lack of welding screens, no safety access to electrical shutoffs, and electrical violations. Before I get off a track, speaking of electrical violations, make sure you put enough plugs in your modular home. I don't even care if you're building a modular home. Just make sure you put enough outlets throughout your house, because nothing is worse than after you have your house built, you don't have enough electrical plugs in a certain area. Trust me on this one. Put as many as you can. Of course, it's going to add you a little bit more on your bottom line, but you won't regret that improvement, especially as you're trying to vacuum your house. Just because it's built in the factory doesn't necessarily make it better or worse. What makes it better is it is climate controlled, and all those modules that are put together pretty darn well. But like I'm saying, anything, like any factory can screw up, and anybody can have bad employees, and you can have a bad manufacturing plant. You just need to be aware of who's building your house. And I would strongly, strongly suggest investigating that modular home company. And I know inevitably, one of you guys is going to put in the comment section, what is the best modular home company for XYZ state? And I'm going to tell you this, every modular home company in every state is going to be different. They are much like custom home builders. So I can't give you a perfect modular home company for your specific state. You're going to have to do your own little due diligence when it comes to this. This is one of those things that's an expense of your time, not necessarily your money. But if you put the expense in your time now, you'll save a lot of money, because you're not going to be working with a modular home company that sucks. And so what I tell you to do is start immediately going on the old Google webs and start looking at the reviews. Now, of course, not everything you read on the internet is true.
The internet is ruining everything.
But if you start joining some local Facebook groups or Reddit threads and start asking questions about a modular home company, you'll be surprised on how many people are willing to answer you. A lot of people, especially in a certain area, have used this company in the past, and they can't wait to share their story, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. You may want to even join some just modular home Facebook groups, not necessarily in your area, so you can get some more information and know the right questions to ask your modular home builder. Oh, and another thing too is when you're working with this contractor, ask them for references for previous modular homes they've worked on, not just pictures. You want to talk to the people that they built the house for. So always do your due diligence and start that investigation now. Look, this is just the tip of the iceberg of all the things that could possibly happen when you're buying a modular home. Many of these things are no different than a traditional built home, but that doesn't mean that you should be like discouraged from buying modular altogether. They are a fantastic product. They are more energy efficient. They do get built a lot quicker. And just for FYI, my next house, when this one's sold, is definitely going to be a modular house. I love them. But I want to know what you think. You let me know in the comments section below if you were considering a modular home after watching this video. To watch more videos about modular homes, you're going to want to watch these videos right here. My name is Christina Smallhorn, your real estate whisperer, and I tell you all this because good real estate information matters.